I mean, you're saying if lions run faster, they're superior to humans because they can't run as fast. Unfortunately, lions are poached every day. We have conquered every animal on this planet. So,
I'm
Johnny, you're
gonna
not.
I'm gonna add this.
Just
Really
only because our brains are superior to all other animals. That's why we find technology. That's why we modify and adapt everything external to our bodies. We don't adapt our bodies to, or we do, but we do it through technology. Our brains are more superior, and therefore we can look over the animals as the dumb.
I know this guy.
Really quick, just to make sure. Hey, everybody, hey, everybody, calm down for a second. Just to make sure that we get back on topic, I want to ask this question. What does that have to do with the evidence of evolution, as in common descent and intelligent design? Because that's what the topic of this hangout has to do with.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. What they're trying to say is that there is imperfections. They're trying to say because of these imperfections in evolution, it's not necessarily always perfect. But if not imperfect, then ontologically and through modal logic, it would be a form of perfection. However, what they misunderstanding is that they don't switch gears. There is a science side and an engineering
1 second,
side.
please. Excuse me. You're really good at talking.
Johnny,
you're really good at talking. But you made one.
Johnny, you're cutting me off.
Hold on, Johnny. Let him finish. Then
I will let him finish.
Hold on, Johnny. Wait. Everybody, hold on a second. Johnny, let Gio.
I got him.
Okay. All I'm saying is that there are two different types of sides here. I'm done. Go ahead.
Hey, John, you can go, man.
Okay, now has he finally finished talking?
Go, Johnny, go.
That went on for ages. Right, yeah, all that sounded fine and dandy, mate, but it was nothing like what I said. So, next time you play Devil's Advocate, I'm very happy for you to do that.
We're getting into bashing people now. We're not even talking about the subject. We're just bashing people now. That's what we're doing.
Did I just sit and listen to him for a while? You can sit and listen to me for 2 minutes. I'm very happy for you to sit and play Devil's Advocate, that's fine, but don't start with the words, this is what they are saying, when you're including me in that, because you clearly didn't understand what I was saying, and you definitely can't read my mind. So, you can say these things, but don't speak as if you're speaking for me, okay?
Well, no.
What did you say? Go ahead, Johnny. What would you say?
How is the eye related to evolution then, Johnny? Is that what you're positing that it is in some way?
Yeah, because that's what Gio was saying. He was relating to evolutionists. When he says they, he means evolutionists, not you. So I mean, he doesn't know what you're saying.
He was definitely saying what they were saying just then, as in me and Darren, actually. It was.
Well, stop taking it so personally and get on with your damn point, man.
No, man, I already said my point a while ago. I got so infuriated with listening to him babble on, arguing with himself.
Okay, well, if you're not going to do anything but bash people here, then there's no reason to listen to you at all.
Well, I'm not trying to talk, I'm trying to listen. You guys are talking to me now. You're the ones putting me in the spotlight. Johnny,
all I'm asking you is for a clarification. What did you say then? What are you saying then? Oh, is that incorrect? Please, you say that.
Yes, it was incorrect because it totally extrapolated what I said. The other guy said that the human has a perfect eye, and up until then I was quite happy listening. But at that point, I had a criticism to make because I don't think the human eye is anywhere near perfect. That was it. That was the whole of my point.
No, I didn't say it was perfect.
I don't think you said it was perfect.
Let me make an
I'm not arguing about this, but can we not argue about it now?
Hold on, let me make an observation. Johnny, the creationist doesn't believe that the eye is perfect, and nor do they believe that God intended for the eye to be perfect.
On for a second. I don't want to turn to a mess because it's been pretty productive so far. So everybody try
I'm just
to
saying the human eye is far superior than any other animal on the planet. I really do believe that.
They believe that God designed the eye to be useful and functional, fully functional for its purpose, not that it's wasn't ever intended to be quote unquote perfect.
Yeah, and I never said it was perfect. So I was saying that I think
I'm
it's
sorry,
better than any.
We believe God created
yeah.
good designs, but
said it was better
never
than any
intended
camera.
for them to be perfect, as in, having all properties being perfect, being
Yes,
infallible,
okay.
can't be damaged,
Perfect
anything
thing. I
like that.
misspoke. I already said that. Why is it that when I say that I misspoke, you still have to continue talking about the thing that I've already given?
Oh, no,
you?
because
we're just
you
finding something
misunderstood
out.
what I was saying. Hold on, he misunderstood
Yes,
what I
I did.
said.
I did
Well, we already cleared that up. Yeah, we cleared that up, so we're good.
Exactly. Thank you. For God's sake, we cleared it up half an hour ago, guys.
I think if God intended for the eye to be perfect, He would have given the land.
God!
He would have given the land of the eye, would have been made of diamond or something like
This
that.
guy's immature.
And
Anyway.
other things like that. So my point is simply that the eye was never intended by God to be perfect, but simply remarkably useful for what it was intended to do in the environment.
I have a little bit of a criticism to give about that. If the eye was made of diamond, that would make it biologically, very infallible, because it wouldn't be able to, effectively look after itself.
But you're not made of diamonds.
Serious.
What subjectively humans think is valuable doesn't therefore make it objectively valuable. That's just
All
ridiculous.
right.
This is
Everybody
going
stop.
nowhere. This is going nowhere.
Everybody stop.
Thank
you.
Hey, everybody,
Alright.
stop. Everybody stop.
You got
This
that
is
from
getting
X-Men.
way too chaotic. Yeah, everybody just stop for a second. Hold on, Robbie, hold on. Everybody stop for a second. I want us to make sure we get back on topic because I think the discussion was productive to begin with, and I think everything just, going haywire right now. But Darren and Johnny, apparently you guys are evolutionists. What is the evidence that you can provide for evolution as in common descent?
Chromosome 2's fusion. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm not an evolutionist. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of them. I don't fully understand it. All I wanted to do was come in here and hear what you guys had to argue, because frankly, I'm agnostic on the subject. So I want you guys to provide an actual adequate argument, and so far, all I've heard is subjective opinions.
I'll be happy.
Okay,
to
well, I have.
Oh.
Absolutely will.
for you to get a protein. See?
And the atoms that
All
comprise
exist
the cell.
together. And that's why we believe that we have scientific verification today that where the Bible says that God spoke and there it was. We have that evidence today. It'd be like this. Imagine you have a book and it's written, I'll make this really brief. You have a book and it's written in a language nobody knows how to read. Okay, but there is a cipher for that information, a decoder. The problem is it's coded inside the book. You can't, unless you can get that decoder out of the book, you can't decode the book. See, because the information to make the decoder is coded in the language that you cannot decode. The only cipher for it is in the book. It's the same thing with DNA and polymerase.
And if I said just like the atoms that comprise the cell itself are also have information encoded inside of them.
I mean, yeah, obviously it was a process that took a very long time, and it was very small incremental changes over time. There's, we're not necessarily suggesting that just because it didn't work before the way that it does now, that it didn't have a completely different job prior to that. So,
well, can you have proteins without the machines that decode the RNA, the DNA?
Let's say you can't have the proteins, okay? So what's the step that you can have before that that's no good without the proteins? Well, what I'm saying is maybe that was good for something
the atoms that have to self-arrange themselves into that form.
Yeah, okay.
The DNA is assembled, duplicated, maintained by those very proteins.
Okay,
so how can you have the DNA unless you have those machines?
Well, interestingly, I was watching a documentary earlier today that was trying to give some hypotheses. I'm not sure really if I could call it a theory at this stage. but it was saying about some kind of outer shell that allows certain information in, so the information would have come in from outside and then self-replicated once it was inside a protected zone, you might call it.
But the machines inside the cell is what make it, though.
Yeah, where did it come from also, if that's possible?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm not suggesting that I know it all at all. In fact, this is why I didn't like being strawmanned, is because I firmly come from a position of I don't know, and I don't think you do either.
No, I don't know his philosophy.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
How do you know that? That's a pretty question.
That's a very interesting question.
What?
How do you know that we don't know, or how do you know that you don't know?
How do you know that there is no mind without the mind?
Right, I know that I don't.
Or
I know that I don't know, right? And I actually said I think that you don't know. I never said that I know that you don't know.
Oh, okay, all right. Let's start there then. What is your basis for saying that you think we don't know? What's your basis?
He sounds like an agnostic.
On this particular topic, you're welcome to start calling me agnostic, and I won't take it as an insult. But my basis is because you can't show it. That's the words on.
Well, Johnny, consider this. You're in the imaginative scenario that this could have evolved. You would have to believe, therefore, that as for an incremental steps to have made this, that somehow the proteins were developed outside of the separate, but completely separate system from the DNA, and right, and then they came and they came together and happened to work. But the problem with that is this. The problem with that is that then you're believing that proteins can come from somewhere other than the only source we know of them, which is DNA. And on top of that, science demonstrates that that even if we forget the fact that proteins are produced by all these different steps by machines in the cell, even if we were to imagine that it didn't need them somehow, then you're stuck against being able to having to believe that natural processes could do it. But when we study that idea, we find that it's impossible times impossible.
Well, it's not really impossible times impossible. The chance of it occurring is impossible, right?
That's right, and that's scientific approach. That's a scientific.
No. That was a particular theory that got put forward, and it did get retracted.
No, that's a scientific approach, Johnny. Scientists use what's called statistical analysis to determine the probability or potentiality of a thing, and the potential for proteins to form outside the cell is essentially zero.
No, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
No, it absolutely is. Let me give you one example. Let's imagine we have a protein that's only 10 amino acids long. A typical protein is 300.
I know where you're going with this. I know
okay, so
hold on. Wait. Don't sit up there. Hold on real quick, Neff. Don't sit up here and tell him you know where he's going with this. Let the man finish before you interrupt.
Yeah, but it's very long.
Don't interrupt. Let him finish his point. Let him finish his point. Then talk.
I'll make it really brief. Let's say we're talking about just a 10 amino acid protein. That would be absolutely minuscule for a protein, super duper minuscule. So you have 20 amino acids. Each one can bond to each one in this chain. So there's 20 particular amino acids, each one that can occupy any 10 of those positions on that amino acid chain. Right, so it goes like this: 20 times 10 times 20 times 10 times 20 times 10 times 20 times 10.
And there's too many possibilities.
By the time you get to 10 amino acids for a tiny, super minuscule protein, you've got an outrageous number. Now, imagine a protein that's just 50 or 30 amino acids long. You get an astronomical number. Okay.
Yes.
So, according to science, we would have to declare that to be implausible. See?
According to the Miller experiment that you're talking, and it got retracted, Right?
No.
Was
Protein.
some guy.
We're not talking about amino acids, Johnny. Protein.
It's the chance alone is the part that I'm pointing out, because the protein comes from the early atmosphere. So there's something called lipids or lipids, something like that. Right. Yeah. Thank you. See, I don't know these things. Like I said, I just saw this documentary earlier that was very insightful, but obviously I'm new to all this kind of thing, and.
But Johnny, the Miller-Urey thing was an attempt to create proteins and failed. All it did was produce amino acids and it produced a red goo that is common to all abiogenesis experiments that prevents the production, would prevent the production of complex biological molecules. But the problem is that getting to amino acids is nothing like getting to a protein. So I'm talking about getting a protein, and the mathematics that I provided you is involved in getting a protein, and the science of it demonstrates to us that the idea is utterly implausible.
I could have said it.
Can I ask you a question?
I could have said it in 30 seconds. Because
really quick, guys. Really quick. Guys, I want to ask Johnny a question.
Yeah, carry on.
Just really quick, I want to ask you a question. You say that you don't really know a lot about this stuff, and that's fine. We're not going to try to press the issue in any way to push you or anything. But I just want to ask you. I just want to ask you a question, though.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Well, a couple of questions. Do you agree that what happens inside of the cell, that there are machines that operate on laws of physics and chemistry?
I'm really sorry you broke up halfway through that. Could you repeat it, please? Sorry.
Do you agree with the components and machines inside of the cell that they are operating on the laws of physics and chemistry?
I can only assume, based on what I understand of your sentence, that yes, they would be operating predominantly under chemistry. Because abiogenesis means without bio, so it's just chemistry.
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about it. Well, I'm not necessarily talking about abiogenesis right now. Just the components inside of the cell. Yeah, the components inside of the cell. They just operate on the laws of physics and chemistry, right?
I would agree.
Okay, well, you would agree. Can you point to me any type of machine that operates on the laws of physics and chemistry that did not operate on the laws of physics and chemistry with an intelligence first setting each component to then act upon each other? By the laws of physics and chemistry.
I mean, I can't remember the name of it, but there's the thing with the coily tail that didn't always used to have a coily tail. It's really tiny. It's in RNA, I think. I think it's part of RNA, and it's really tiny.
Coily tail. Are you trying to talk about the filaments or something?
Are you talking about histones? Are you talking about histones that structure the DNA into chromatin?
I mean, the main reason that I came here really was to ask questions. Obviously, you've asked me about what I understand. I've tried to provide as much about what I understand as I can. Really, I kind of have to specify that mainly my understanding of it is very brief. You know,
that's why. Yeah. I'm not trying to push you with it. I'm just trying to maybe get you to just trying to get you to think of it from our perspective. Okay. If you're not able to make a case just for evolution, you don't understand it from an evolutionary biologist's perspective, right? I'm just going to say this really quick. You do know, though, where machines come from. You do know what it takes to build machines. I'm just trying to point out that usually when you see anything operating on the laws of physics and chemistry, like the components that you're looking inside of the cell, and intelligence to set each component in motion to start to act upon each other.
No, not necessarily.
Usually when you have, can you give me an example, for example, then, when you're looking at something with bushings, bearings, a drive shaft, and so on, coming together through the laws of physics and chemistry without an intelligent designer?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. When two people have sex, they produce a baby, and there's no intelligent design behind that. You don't physically build the baby. The baby happens,
Right, but the reason The reason why that happens, though, is because there are cells and there are mechanisms inside of the cell that causes that to happen. We're questioning the very cells to begin with, and the mechanisms not within inside of the basic unit of life, the cells.
Exactly.
To begin with, see where that more than likely they came from. So you're going to the source of an argument that's actually being questioned right now to see what was behind those mechanisms to begin with to cause reproduction to happen.
Okay, well, what I can tell you is there is spontaneous particles in space. So if you take a vacuum and you think there's absolutely nothing in that vacuum, there's no such thing as nothing, right? Because
there made no sense.
There's denser areas of nothing and there's lesser areas of nothing. There's particles popping in and out of existence. There's no such thing as nothing. So it's hard to explain it past that, beyond that, because obviously we don't know the next step. But that's a definite scientific fact.
Well,
that
what do you mean there's no such thing as nothing?
There's no such thing as nothing. There's always something.
What do you mean that there's always something?
I mean, if you take a vacuum and you pump everything out of that vacuum, so you've got literally nothing in the vacuum, what you will find in actuality is that you've got denser areas.
You're talking about quantum mechanics. I know what you're trying to say. That's not necessarily nothing. There's activity going on a quantum level.
Well,
so if you're trying to say that the activity going on a quantum level to where things are coming in and out of existence, you're being a little vague right there, because if there was nothing there, and it's an inaccurate summary to begin with of what's actually happening on a quantum level, that's not necessarily what's happening. So it seems to me that you're making conflicting statements. Are there particles coming in and out of existence where there's nothing? Was there nothing to begin with, and then something came into existence? Or are you trying to say that, well, there are particles there on a quantum level, so you can never really say that there's nothing? You're mixing up your statements, so I need to know where I have to go at in the direction of this argument.
To be fair, I think you're right. I think they are two completely separate statements. But in space, there are, because we all know that obviously matter can turn into energy, but it doesn't happen the other way around. Well, there are particles that appear briefly, instantaneously, and then immediately turn into the energy that they would have required to create it.
No, that's just there's quantum activity. All that's happening is that there's activity on a quantum level that we don't fully understand.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of other things going on too. For example, hold on really quick though, Rodney. There are particles, if you super freeze them to, I don't even know how you got to freeze them to, they appear to be at more than one place at the same time. Now, they're not necessarily at more than one place at the same time. It just appears that way based on our study. We don't really have a full answer of it. So all that's happening here is that there is activity going on on a quantum level to where it seems like things are starting to make sense. Yeah, we don't understand. Yeah. Things are just getting screwed up there. We don't really fully have an understanding.
Right, okay.
But I'm trying to understand, why are you trying to say that nothing doesn't really exist?
Well, that was the second point then, which was apparently separate from that particular point. But nothing doesn't exist. There's denser parts of nothing, and there's less dense parts of nothing. There's something there. Anyway, the point I'm making is
there is nothing. There is you can take a space, and in space where there's nothing at, and there's not going to be anything there.
Well, there will be.
But if you're going to say, if you take, well, that's what I'm saying. You can go find places to where there's atoms or particles, and then go below that and see the activity with the quarks and leptons, and then go beyond, lower than that and see the quantum activity going on there. But there are places in space where, if you just throw a jar out there, there's nothing inside of the activity inside of that jar, because there's no particles in there. There would be nothing.
There'd be activity in the jar, definitely. But anyway, the point is,
because if you have no atoms, if you have rocks.
Whatever you say, I'm just going to agree so I can move on.
Well, okay. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm just curious for people too, because I've heard this being said before. If there are elements wherever you're finding elements out they're in space, you can start to break things down on a quantum level. But where you're not finding any elements or anything, any activity like that, then of course there's nothing in that area. So
yeah.
I don't know.
No, I understood what you were saying. What you were saying was there has to be nothing there at some point for the particle to pop into it at some point. So there has to be a space for the particle to then exist in. So there has to be nothing there by default. That makes perfect sense. I got that. So anyway, the point was that there are things that we don't know. If you're willing to concede that there are things that we don't know, how can you suggest that you know the overall effect of that?
Well, there are things.
Well, I'm not saying that. You see, yeah, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there are by the very things that we do know. This is what makes our position in our case more justified than an evolutionary case, because we do not know if the accumulated changes can lead to the same exact patterns that intelligent design is pointing out. And I bring out 3 specific patterns on a regular basis because they're consistent with what we all know about motor turbines and codes. So if we look at our abductive reasoning, and this is a typical example that I've been using, it's found in different textbooks and online, people can go check it out. If you were sick and you had an illness, you didn't know what your illness was, you would conclude based on the symptoms that you had that more than likely it would be the flu, or maybe it would be the cold, based on the symptoms that you have. You may not know 100% about what it is, but based on the symptoms,
you need a doctor then.
More than likely it's the flu, or more than likely it's a cold. And likewise, when we're looking at the patterns inside of the cell, when we're finding motors and turbines and codes, based on our consistent appeal to knowledge, where we have always seen motors and turbines and codes come from, we apply that knowledge to what we see inside of the cell with those patterns and conclude, based on the evidence and facts in the past, that more than likely the intelligent designer was behind what we're finding inside of the cell. Now, when you're looking at evolution, just really quick to stop talking, because I know you guys want to respond to this. When we look at evolution as in common descent and its inferences, it doesn't follow those inferences in the same way directly. It doesn't do it at all, actually. When they're claiming that the accumulating changes can lead to these complexities, those claims cannot be tested to prove that these complexities can happen. So because there is no known cause, or evolution has been not proven to have any sort of effective cause to make these effects, it is not equivalent to intelligent design, because intelligent design does have a known cause.
The truth of it is that intelligent design is not about what we don't know. It's about what we do know. Evolutionists try all the time to paint creation and intelligent design is that it is evidence of intelligent design. It's not that we haven't figured something out. It's about what we have figured out.
Now, can I have a turn?
Yeah.
I want to say this to you, Johnny. I know what you're trying to prove. I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, Johnny. You want to prove that there's no God here. You're an anti-theist.
Okay, number 1, yeah, I'm an atheist. Number 2, I'm not going to try to prove that there is no God. Number 3, I'm clearly trying my hardest to just ask people questions. People do keep asking me what my position is, and I keep giving vague answers because obviously I don't know much about it. What I'm here to do is learn to ask questions.
No, I have my answer. Before I let you continue, well, can you prove that the Bible is a metaphor and a story, although this is a Freemason version of it. But anyway, can you prove that this Bible is not fallible?
I don't think this is what this discussion is about, Robbie.
If I only have to prove that there's one fallacy within it, I'm sure I could, given enough time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring God into the equation where what Johnny is trying to prove is about the quinite, the finite, or the gematria or let's say evolution is dead.
No.
Yeah, evolution is dead.
Well, I'd say that just for the people that are listening, evolution, as in just change happening, that is fact. But evolution, that change can build a new structure or have creative power through some sort of unintended process if you give it time. That doesn't. There's no evidence supporting that that's actually true. When I was talking to Matt Dillahunty the other day, he tried to use chromosome 2 fusion, for example. This is the type of arguments. These are usually the type of things that people bring in. I know. I just want to bring this up really quick, Robbie. When I was speaking to Matt Dillahunty, it to be true in order for them to move forward, because a rearranging, repackaging of the chromosomes, it doesn't really say anything to the information content stored within inside of the genome itself. I think that
there is no information in the genes, because there's only one information that lies within us is our words. Mm-hmm. We vibrate our words, don't we? Mm-hmm. That's how you can do that.
Can I ask
Johnny?
Yeah.
Go ahead, True. What were you about to say?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Johnny a question, because Darren said he's more sort of agnostic on the point. What is your position on evolution and intelligent design?
Okay, evolution and intelligent design. Just to go back to that earlier point when I said I understand this point and I got cut off and told, like, listen to what he's going to say. It's just the actual point is that there are so many, it couldn't possibly come by chance, because for one of every single type of combination to exist would be bigger than the entire universe. There it is, that's that whole point. So I believe...
What do you mean by that? I mean, what combinations? Can you be a little bit more specific with what you're saying?
No, because somebody else already talked about it. There's 20 of them and 10 of them, and even if it was a tiny little one, I don't care about names of things, I care about ideas. Except for one name that I do remember is the Big Bounce, which is definitely what I think happens, which is where everything expands and it fades out until there's only photons left, and then photons don't take up mass, so they occupy infinity and just one tiny dot at the exact same time, and then there's another big explosion.
Okay, so how are you trying? Yeah, how are you trying to use that in the context of evolution and intelligent design?
I'll tell you, because it takes a really, really, really long time for all the material in the universe to turn into photons, and that means that there has to be a really, really, really long time between each of these bounces, which means that there's no need for a god at that stage. So therefore, regardless how abiogenesis happens, it has to happen.
That idea is called the Big Crunch, and it's been all but done away with by modern theorists.
No, I'm sorry, it's
no
called
longer,
the Big Bounce.
No, it's called the Big Crunch.
No, it's not. You can look up the Big Bounce.
Okay. Listen, you'd be. I'm just trying to make a point. Okay, let me make a point.
No,
okay, the point is this.
Point about the Big Crunch.
All right.
Hold on. The point is, I'm trying to make is that you'd be hard pressed to find a theoretical physicist that believes that actually took place anymore. It's been coughed up. They don't believe it anymore. That idea was given up 30 years ago.
Can I say something real quick?
No, let me first, really quick. All right, you're talking about the big crunch that got dismissed over 30 years ago. I'm talking about the big bounce. It's an entirely different idea. So go look it up. And
no, it's the same thing. The universe explodes. It contracts. It happens over and over again, and that idea was given up 30 years ago.
Basically, what evolutionists want us to believe is that a computer is creating a computer running Windows XP is creating Windows 10 by itself.
I think that's spot on, man.
I don't see a problem with that.
But that makes sense.
Has anybody seen Dark Matter's new video?
I never seen it before.
Dark Matter 2020, he's put out a video that's called something like Meeting God, and it's a robot, like a really super advanced robot that meets a human being, and it's like, you can't be God because you're inferior to me, but obviously humans made computers. Do you see?
Well, that proves it.
Yeah, that proves right there, everybody.
Johnny,
no, wait, Antonio. What Johnny is trying to do here is trying to prove that man is infallible. That man can't make mistakes. That we are God. That we created God in our heads. That's what he's trying to do.
Man is definitely fallible. Man can definitely make mistakes. I got asked a question. Again, I tried to answer it to the best of my ability. I'm not here to spread my beliefs. I'm here to ask questions, to understand other people. It's not my fault if my answers don't make any sense to you. I personally don't care, because I know I don't know anything, and I think that you don't know anything either.
Well, no, I do know about science. How the hell did I get this book, Johnny?
Well, we do know a lot.
Hold on, Robbie. Yeah, I would say that we know, based on what we do know and based on our reasoning and our inferences that we can make, I would say this, that our reasoning behind supporting intelligent design versus that of supporting evolution it's far greater. I mean, we have facts and evidence supporting our position, and I understand that there are some inferences as well that we have to use, and some things that we simply don't know and have an answer to, just simply put. But based on, if we put both of our positions on the table, who supports evolution, who supports Genesis versus who supports creation, then we win flat out because we are the only ones thus far that has the evidence.
So you're really not listening to a word I'm saying then, are you? I'm not here proselytizing, right? I'm not here trying to change your mind, right?
You said that you're not trying to...
I am trying to ask questions and understand your position. I have to share a planet with you people. You people get to vote. It doesn't matter if I think that what you think is wrong. It doesn't matter if you think what I think is wrong. We all get to vote, right? We're all citizens of the world.
Dude. Well, hold on a sec, dude. We're giving you answers to the questions you've been asking. And wait a minute, let me finish. We've been giving you answers to the questions you've been asking, and you've been reacting in such a way as if you're trying to challenge what is being said. So you're not just merely hold on. So you're not just merely asking questions. You're trying to criticize what's been said to you. So don't sit up here and come up in here and say that you're just trying to ask questions, because that's a flat freaking lie. Be honest, dude.
I honestly don't think that I am being any more or less critical than I would be to any other individual on the planet when I'm asking them questions about what they believe. Obviously, I'm going to be provocative for two reasons. One, I don't necessarily believe it, and two, I don't know how they're exactly going to prove it. I mean, it depends. It differs with the argument. It's on a spectrum, obviously. There are some things where you can say something and I don't have to necessarily believe it or understand it. I'll just take your word for it.
Well, the more honest thing to say is, the more honest thing to say is that you're asking questions and giving criticisms. That would be honest.
Well, I'm not.
But that's not what you said. You said
no, I'm not giving criticisms. No, I refused. I've refused to accept that statement. I'm asking questions.
Wait a minute. So you haven't.
I'm asking questions in a critical manner. I'm not being critical. There's a difference.
So you haven't criticized anything. So you haven't criticized anything that's been said in here about intelligent design.
Here's another question.
No.
Johnny, you say you're honest, right?
I try to always be honest. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so evolution created your honesty as well.
That was more to do
why was
with
that a
personal
purpose?
experience. No, it was definitely more to do with personal experience through my life, and it was a survival mechanism because I kept getting caught out in lies when I was a kid.
No,
Every time I lied, I got caught.
actually, if you have any honesty, then evolution has produced it in a roundabout way.
In a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Why are you not as
It
hard as
exists
ever?
because evolution ultimately is the design producer of
Yeah,
it.
it's survival of the fittest. It kept me alive. It was a survival mechanism because I kept getting caught in lies.
You don't see a philosophical problem with that?
You still go through that every day, don't you?
Pardon?
You still go through that every day, don't you?
We're bombarding them a little bit. Let them answer one at a time.
I mean, I do feel like a little bit bombarded. I try to be as honest as I can. Every time I've ever lied in my childhood, because I've tried not to since I was about 15, obviously, but it never led to good results. I never got what I wanted. I realized that by lying, I was selling myself as somebody that I was not, and therefore I was receiving somebody else's life.
Right, but the point is, if you're an evolved product of evolution, ultimately it's evolution that produced honesty. See, don't you see a philosophical problem with that?
I would have said that evolution gave me the brain to make the intelligent decision, to be honest.
Right, so evolution is what produced it.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that.
Right.
No.
There's a philosophical problem with that, though.
I don't agree.
Why?
Because reasoning, logic, knowledge, comprehension, the list goes on and on. These are mental processes, not physical ones.
I failed to see your reasoning.
Well, I'll ask you a question that might make it clear. Can you give me a pound of your thoughts? See, what I'm trying to say is mental processes have no mass. They're non-tangible. Yeah. So the point is, if you believe evolution produced honesty, then you're believing that chemical processes produce something that physically does not exist at all. Like
via the brain,
wisdom, creativity. See what I mean? Right.
Yeah. So I'm happy with that.
That's a philosophical issue. It's a very grave problem for evolution theory.
I really don't see how. I don't understand how. I'm still not grasping that. I don't.
Okay. No, think about it a while, maybe.
I mean, I'm.
But I do want to say is this: I don't really agree with National Free here, because I don't think that what you're saying is going to be followed on, because I myself am open to science now. That evolution just don't exist anymore.
I mean, I'm pretty sure evolution does exist.
Excuse me.
Okay, so if evolution exists, then so can God.
I don't think it's. I think that's a false equation.
No, God created everything. Science can prove the Bible.
Okay, if you honestly want to know where my stance is when it comes to God, I don't know about this intelligent design stuff, but when it comes to God, I honestly don't understand any definition of the word God. None of them make any sense to me.
But you don't understand that when people say God, you don't understand. I'm sure you understand that when people say God, that they're referring to an all-powerful, all-knowing, maximum being, right? I mean, that's pretty much common. Hold on. That's a pretty much a common understanding of everyone. When you hear the word God, this is what comes to your mind, right?
The first thing that comes to my mind is obviously all-powerful. Yeah, I'm glad you agree. So obviously God can't exist then, by definition.
How so?
Because all-powerful is a logical fallacy, isn't it?
How?
Do you believe he's out there?
Well, God can't make a mountain. Can God make an unmovable mountain?
Yes.
Dude, that's the old. That's the old king. That's the old king. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, you know what?
Hold on.
I'm holding on.
Wait. All right, that's the old can guy created a rock so big he cannot lift it, fella. See, and that's a basic. That's a basic elementary fallacy because that has absolutely nothing to do with power, because a contradiction has nothing to do with power, dude. You're completely invalidating the question when you even ask it from the beginning.
We have a logical God, not an illogical God.
I don't understand the problem, and I'm quite happy for you to explain it to me.
No, the problem is you when you're talking about something like God is by definition infinite. So if you're trying to say a rock can be bigger than infinity, you're asking about a contradiction. That is illogical, dude.
Can God make an unmovable mountain?
Can God make an unmovable mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he can.
Can God move the mountain?
That's kind of like turning God into a cartoon on South Park.
Yeah, it's circular reasoning because you're positing something.
No, it's a simple question.
No, it's circular reasoning, and that's why it's a failed argument, because it's positing that something impossible exists. Let me finish. It's positing that something impossible is possible. So you're beginning with a false premise.
The unmovable mountain being the false premise, yeah.
Right.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for explaining.
It's circular reasoning because it's positing that something which is impossible is possible. And it's self-contradictory.
I heard you the first time, and I totally appreciate where you were coming from, and I thank you for it. I don't really thought that.
Okay.
Let me explain. All right, Johnny.
Johnny, I will believe in my name.
A clear question. I want to answer it for you. Okay, you asked that can God create a movable mountain? Actually, yes. In the book of Revelation, says that there's going to be a millstone which will be cast out of heaven and shake the earth to its core. That's the rock that can be movable. God created the world. He made everything perfect in His.
There's some distortion in your mic, True.
Hey, refresh, True. Maybe.
Yeah. I would say that God can create a mountain that man cannot move, certainly. But I mean,
that's what
he cannot make a mountain that he cannot move.
So then he's not all powerful.
We're talking about logic itself.
No, he has.
Saying there are things.
Dude, that has nothing to do with power. You're talking. Contradictions have nothing to do with power. You're confusing two concepts.
Okay. Dude. Okay. Let me ask you a different
question. You guys hear me better? Is there still something wrong with my mic?
Whoa.
It's good now. It's good.
Can God make a more powerful being than himself?
No, he cannot, because by definition, he would not be God if he did.
Well, he's not all powerful then.
Again, that has nothing to.
Okay, I'll try a different one.
Wait a second. That has nothing to do with power. You keep asking contradictory questions. Contradictions and power are not the same thing, dude.
Well, I'm trying my hardest to find a non-contradictory question, so please bear with me. Can he make a being that is the same power as himself? Would that be a contradiction?
No, he cannot.
Why not?
Because look, if he's the greatest conceivable being, then how would he be able to make something exactly like himself if he is the greatest conceivable being?
Well, I don't understand how that does not make him all powerful.
Well, exactly. See, that's what I was trying to point out. You're positing that something impossible is possible, and that's why the question
exactly.
That's why the question is a logical error. See?
Yeah, that's another contradiction.
Can God do anything that is impossible?
No, please let me answer this.
Well, hold on, Robbie. When we say that God is all powerful, we mean that God can do anything that is consistent within His nature. That's what the question means. It does not mean that God can create a contradiction, because no such thing exists.
God can do anything that's logically possible. See,
right.
That's the thing.
Can God lie?
No man knows God like that, man.
Again, you're ignoring the other part of the equation. He can do whatever is consistent with his nature.
Right. It's not logically possible for God to lie.
God can do all things possible.
See, that's the thing. It's not logically possible that God would lie. Therefore, the question is moot.
So he's not all powerful.
No, he is all powerful. It's just that you're asking for something that's logically impossible.
Where do you get this idea that all powerful means a contradiction? Where do you get that idea from?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that all powerful is a contradiction in terms. The very term all powerful. That's the whole point that I'm making.
No, it isn't, sir.
Okay. I'm fine.
All powerful is not a contradiction in terms. You're placing a contradiction where there is none.
See, consider this. Think about this, Johnny, for a second. If God is a maximal being, then is it logical to believe that God can be illogical? It's not, is it? It's not logical to believe that God can be illogical.
Yeah,
right?
if he wanted to be, if he chose to be illogical, that's conceivable.
No, because there would always be a logical reason for God doing something that you might think of as illogical. See? So it's not logically possible for God to be illogical. So if you base your premise or your question on something that's logically impossible, the question is circular reasoning and it's moot. See, that's the point we're trying to help you understand.
Yeah. The problem is, it's basically what you're saying is a fallacy of complex questions.
It's like asking can there be a square circle?
Right, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to. It's either like asking somebody. It's either like asking somebody, "Have you stopped beating your wife today?" Yes or no, or
no, it's not like that. Something like that. But the square circle is a better analogy. So can God make
the square circle is a good analogy, but if you understand that God is supposed to be, wise, he's supposed to be wise, and obviously he's not going to be doing something that is logically incoherent to begin with. So by setting up a question like that, hold on a second. By setting up a question like that, it does become a fallacy of complex questioning. So it is equivalent to asking somebody, have you stopped beating your wife today? Because the question is fallacious, because you can't give a yes or no answer to that type of question. It's based on ignorance of what God is and His wisdom.
I 100% agree. It's based on ignorance. That's why I'm asking questions. Stop trying to paint me as some kind of person who's like manipulating you with my evil questions. I'm just trying to understand,
Johnny,
right?
Calm down, Johnny. Calm down. Nobody's trying to do that with you. I'm just saying that the question you're directing is very, very silly, and it's been carrying on for a while.
It's not very silly.
It is. It's a fallacious question. It's a fallacious question.
I don't understand.
You've been corrected multiple times.
Oh my God!
And you kept trying to ask contradictory questions every single time. try to contest the point when you were corrected the first time.
Right, you're really not understanding the fact that I don't understand this, are you? You're really not understanding the fact that my questions are fucking genuine.
Okay, Johnny, but I think the reason why Antonio is pointing that out is because your behavior throughout the last couple of minutes is indicative of somebody who is just trying to, you know, press or push a certain view that you have, or poison the well, I guess, against Christianity. But the fact that it's fallacious, I think that you should probably move on to a different point already.
The point was given to me about half an hour ago. I was then trying to work out what all-powerful consisted of. So my next question, now that I can finally get to it, was, what you're telling me is all-powerful means that it's got to fit within a neat little box. He's all-powerful within these confines. That's what you're saying.
Well, anything which isn't contradictory, which isn't contradictory, would have to fit in the confines of non-contradiction. It's not merely just, you know, a neat little box, as you say, because that's kind of an oversimplification fallacy right there. Anything which isn't contradictory would have to be consistent. So
yeah, God's not going to do anything. God's not going to do anything inconsistent with His nature, and you're coming into with the question as if He's going to do something inconsistent with His nature.
I'm asking if He's able, not if He's willing. So here's where I've come from, and here's where
He's not going to do anything inconsistent with His nature. For example, Scripture says that God can't lie.
You've just said
So
that.
it's not
You have to repeat yourself, mate. I get you the first time. I'm English. I'm not American. I'm used to, you know, listening and taking information.
Okay, but then the first time that when I give you an answer to something, you should just hear the answer.
So let me.
Then it's not ignored and move on to something else.
I did, and then it got repeated a lot of times. Okay, so here's what happened, right? I asked the usual fallacy, apparently, and then I got explained to me that that's an impossibility because obviously there's no such thing as a movable mountain. That makes perfect sense to me. I then carried on going down and down the list until we got to the point where there wasn't very much left that I would consider to be under the definition of all-powerful. My personal definition of all-powerful was the first one, and every single time I've been coming down and down the list, okay, so he's less powerful than being able to do impossible things, etc., etc., until we've come to a confined box where you could say that about any being.
How could we say, okay, so you're saying that anything at all, anything at all,
no.
Wait. So the things that God, hold on a second, the thing that God does, speaking things into existence, can people do that?
Okay, so what I'm saying is,
no, don't avoid the question. You just said that you can apply that to everybody.
I apologize.
So the things consistent with God's nature.
When I said any being, what I meant was we could come across an alien race that's a third civilization alien race that is able to manipulate stars, in which case they'd be able to make their own planets. They'd be able to do everything that you assign to God.
How do you know that?
What? Because
how do you know that anyways? How do you know that anyways?
Because it's science by definition. It's just a definitional thing, like a circle is a circle.
How do you know that they could do that though?
Because it's not impossible. It's not godly. It's not godly. It's all within the realms of nature.
Look, Johnny. It's not possible for man to like raise someone from the dead. So how would you know aliens could do it?
Well, you know.
I guess, Johnny, consider this. What you're arguing, really, I don't think you thought about it, but what you're arguing there is that aliens might evolve to become the first prime mover. And that doesn't make sense. Because
no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
That's what it sounds like. Because that's what. Let me finish. Hold on.
I'll let you finish. Carry on.
So that's what God is. God is the first cause. So if there's anything well, that's what I mean by prime mover. So
no, you didn't say that initially before the conversation.
I said prime mover. Well, that's what I'm trying to help you say now. All powerful implies he's the prime mover. All power. Johnny, stop talking and listen for a second.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Jesus, this is a conversation.
Listen, Johnny, you're not uncomprehending. All power means prime mover. Because if he has anything less than all power, he's a created thing and not the creator. See what I mean? He is not the prime mover, not the first cause of all things.
Not necessarily.
So if he doesn't have, if God didn't have all power, he would not be the prime mover. See, and what you argued just a moment ago, it sounded very much like believing that something that is not the prime mover can become the prime mover, and that's not logical.
No, I never said that. There's nothing stopping the prime mover from being a
Well, you said something about aliens, didn't you?
Jesus. Yeah, the prime mover, as you so put it, could have been long down a myriad of lines and not have any inclination to anything that's going on here, in which case, again, why would we call it God? And that could have created what I just called the alien races, which would be God.
No, that's not true, because consider this. Let me put it to you the way that Dr. Werner, the way that Dr. Werner Gitt describes it. He was giving a lecture, and a student stood up and asked him, "What if I understand your idea that all information originated from God, okay? But what if there's a God over your God, a uber God?" And then he said, well, okay, let's consider that. So now you're saying that there's a uber God above my God, right? And she says, yes. And he said, well, then that one is not God. That one is God, right? And then she says, well, what if there's a uber God and a uber God? So all you're pointing to is God. See, so to say that there's a long chain of events that leads to God is logically a fallacy, because none of them are therefore God.
Yeah, no, I appreciate where you're coming from. What I was getting at was the all-powerful thing, because we'd moved it all the way down to only things that happen within nature. That could then be aliens. But once you add in the prime mover, I added it as a separate element, but you're adding it within, and I understand that now. It's part of the all-powerful. I get where you're coming from.
We weren't just talking about things that happen within nature, like saying, for example, somebody rising somebody from the dead, which is something that Jesus. Wait a minute. So men rise people from the dead all the time.
Yeah, we do it in a place called a hospital. I'm just gonna go get a drink. I'll be back in a minute.
Cool.
This is a whole lot of ignorance here that has to be dispelled here.
Talking to brick walls.
Exactly.
Well, what's happening is that you're arguing with him from the perspective of somebody that doesn't understand that God's not going to act outside of the character of his own nature. So when he's trying to make an illogical fallacy and apply it to a God that's supposed to be all-wise, he is setting up a fallacy that's called the fallacy of complex questioning.
Right.
That's equivalent to asking, okay, well, have you stopped eating your wife today? Because the answer is not, you're not going to answer it yes or no. It doesn't apply to God, because God, of course, is going to not act incongruent against his nature.
Exactly.
So it is fallacious.
It's arguing something impossible is possible, essentially. What you're saying is exactly the same thing, true.
The word is being overlooked, also, logic.
And when he's talking about, like, people raising folks from the dead in hospitals all the time, he's presupposing that if anyone rose from the dead in a hospital, that was done by a man. He's presupposing that God had absolutely no intervention in the matter.
Are you saying that aliens can't steal our sperm?
Say what now?
Are you saying that aliens can't steal our sperm and raise their own children?
No, that has nothing to do with it, Robbie. That isn't it.
No.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
But again, Johnny, you say that what happens in hospitals all the time with people raising people from the dead, but you can't actually back that up, because you would have to presuppose that God is not intervening in such an ordeal when that happens.
Well, every time. Is that okay?
You would have again, you would have to presuppose that God is not intervening in such cases. And how would you be able to prove that God is not intervening?
I mean, wow. Really?
It's a good question.
It is. It's an amazing question. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. Yeah. Okay. That's yeah.
But you just said men do it all the time, but you can't prove that, dude.
No, yeah. No, you've put me in my place again. I stand by my claim that I don't know anything. You see, you've just proven that I don't know anything. See? Wow.
Okay, you're in a room, Johnny, with somebody that actually had an open heart surgery twice.
So?
Because I got Down syndrome, and it's also thanks to the doctors for saving me from death, but really we should be thanking God for that the doctors has that ability to.
I think they were talking about.
I know what they're talking about. True. I'm trying to say something to them.
Yeah.
I have Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Here on Earth I do, but in heaven I won't have it. But yeah, it is kind of true of what Johnny is saying, everybody. What Johnny is saying, doctors can resurrect people by not using power. That's what he's saying.
I'll let you know what I was saying. Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is that it's not unfeasible that a alien race that was supremely powerful in the fact that they could control a star and their civilization was as intelligent as it was up there on the intelligence scale. Basically, there's nothing saying that they wouldn't have the knowledge and information to be able to bring people back from the dead after maybe a couple of days max, I'm sure, because I understand that the brain actually takes 24 hours to shut down, etc. So I'm sure that an alien race with all the information would know a lot more about this stuff than I do. So.
Well, if you're going to posit an alien race, are you presupposing that the existence of an alien race means that God cannot exist?
I'm just my question really when it comes to God. It really confuses me, the word God. I don't understand why any definition that I've heard. My question is, why would you call that God?
The greatest conceivable being.
Yeah, I mean, you're atheism specific. Hold on, everybody, because we're off topic of what this discussion is supposed to be about, anyways. But just to answer your question, what we conceive God to be is directly what I guess theism would imply: the belief in a personal, interactive, creative God behind the influence of the universe. That's specifically what a theistic God would be: a personal, interactive creator behind life in the world. But you're using, interestingly enough, just so we can go back on points, I want to use what you just said just now, Johnny, about aliens being able to come in and maybe messing with life, maybe because maybe you can conceive an alien, an intelligent race out there somewhere coming over and tweaking with life 24 hours or so after somebody's died and reviving them or something. Why is it that you'd be willing to appeal to an intelligence there, but you don't appeal to an intelligence behind life when you're finding things that only come from an intelligence?
I was simply pointing out the fact that natural everything in the all-powerful. Okay, so this conversation evolved from the all-powerful thing, and I said, why would you call it all-powerful if it was only things within nature? And then the question was asked that referred to.
I understand that. I understand why all that. Yeah, I understand why all of that was brought up. I think we all get why that was brought up. But even still, the fact that you would appeal to an intelligence using that example, I think it raises a red flag to why you wouldn't accept intelligent design in the same way. Because why is it okay? You'll use intelligence as an example, behind something that you can conceive on a different topic, but you won't use it for intelligent design.
Well, because we're talking the difference between a hypothesis, which could have been one of millions of examples, and the actual fact of existence, which there is only one version of. So
Well,
we have to.
You got to be a little bit. What are you trying to? You need to clarify that. What are you trying to say?
I'm saying the example that I gave of aliens, it was just one off the top of my head. It was just a hypothesis. It was nothing more than that. But when we're reality,
that doesn't change the fact that how you're using it. It's very puzzling as to why you would use that as an example against our theology. But
Okay.
you're using it, as an example of what we know modern medicine can do, and it's not, inconceivable that because you've got that known fact that an intelligent race might have more knowledge and might be able to do do the same thing equivalent to what a god would do, right? Because we're talking about what is logically consistent within the world. So, I mean, when you take that, you apply it to intelligent design. Why is it that you don't accept when you find codes, motors, and turbines, and we all factually know they come from a designer? You don't accept the inference behind them that, okay, well, the more than likely designer was behind those.
this is the first time. All right, let me put it this way, right? Because I know you're American, so I understand religion's a pretty big thing over there. I'm English, so I'm really not savvy on all this religious stuff. I don't know much about it.
There's a lot of
There's
a lot of religious stuff where you at too, sir. There's a lot of religious. There's a lot of religious stuff where you at too. Let's make that clear.
I stopped myself. It was an accident. Okay. The point is, I've been brought up an atheist. I'm asking these questions because I share a planet with you guys. I'm sorry if you hear it a lot. I'm sorry if you're kind of used to this kind of thing. I don't know all that much about it.
The question that I asked you, though, had nothing to do really with religion. It had to do with objective facts that we can look at. And the question is that because you were using objective facts and trying to use it with what is logically consistent to the world and the nature of the question that you were asking of God being able to do something, something logically inconsistent, it's relevant in an objective sense over the facts that we're observing inside of the cell.
No,
so that's the reason why I'm taking what you were using as a response to the theology to apply it to what we were talking about in the science. Because it's related to the science.
Right.
Also, man,
your question.
Johnny, we're not trying to bash you. I just thought I'd point out that I think it's good that you're looking for answers to things. We're just trying to point out that question that you posited. There's an explanation. There's a response to it, and that it is that the premise of it is illogical to begin with. But if you wanted to know why we believe in God,
look, no,
we'd be
stop,
happy to tell you,
please,
give you
stop.
the reason.
Oh my God, please stop.
No, wait, don't constantly interrupt people, Johnny. Come on, man.
You're just being rude. When you do
Give me a
that,
few seconds.
hold on, Johnny, hold on, John. Johnny, hold on a second.
Give me
when
a
you do
couple
that,
seconds
let Nephilim free speak, because when you interrupt him like that, that's just rude and disrespectful. There's no need for you to do that today.
I just was going to say, if you said you were brought up an atheist, there are people who are brought up Christian. Okay, so I would hear some atheists say, well, just because you were brought up Christian is not reason for me to believe that your Christian God actually exists. I could turn it around, and I'm not trying to be confrontational here. I'm just pointing out something. I could turn that around on an atheist and say, well, just because you were brought up atheist doesn't mean atheism is true. See, so. We can, the Bible tells us to be prepared to give an account for the faith which is in us. And that's what we try to do. What I would like to try to do is to give an explanation for the faith that I have within me. And that faith comes from a lot of things. It comes from the evidence that life was designed and this world was actually created. But the most important, actually, Johnny, evidence that I have is something that I can't put in a bottle and I can't hand to you. It's that I've interacted with that creator, that being. I've had a personal contact with him. And that's something I can't hand to you and say, look, here's my experience. I understand that. That's not something that I can show you scientifically, right? But there's people, Christians like myself and others, have powerful testimonies that they can provide reasons to believe that there is a God, and that actually that contradict a lot of things the atheists say.
It's important to understand that the intelligent design argument, doesn't, necessarily presuppose the Christian concept of God. I mean, you brought up aliens and whatnot, and some intelligent design proponents do believe it could have been aliens. But the whole point is that, intelligent design process, is the argument to show that, intelligence is the best explanation of the result of the universe we see around us, and that's it.
And so I say that, yeah. I was just going to say that I do agree with you, Antonio. I didn't want to interrupt you. Finish what you thought.
No, I'm good. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, man.
Well, I was just going to say that that's actually 100% true. I'm glad you brought that up, Antonio, because it isn't intending to try to prove Christianity, Islam, or any specific belief or anything like that. But what it does do is, I think it it pushes a very difficult implication on atheism, because remember, atheism is what? The negation of a base of theism, which is the base explanation of reality, that theism is the belief in a personal, interactive creator God. So one of the premises of atheism is directly challenged if the implications of intelligent design is true, creation. So this is the problem right here. It is a problem for atheism. It doesn't necessarily prove any belief system out there, but it is friendly to religious beliefs of Christianity and so on. But it's very dangerous for an atheistic position. And so that's why I hope that you guys really consider what I'm saying, and all the other theists in this room are saying, because I think the evidence is not only this, but many other reasons that we could probably get into. I can put some other hangouts out on show atheism just to be very, very unlikely to be a reasonable position to hold to.
It'd be nice if you guys show some of the evidence that we speak about. If you got the time, I don't know. Show the intelligence behind.
Right. You know what I like to point out too, just really quick, guys. You know what I really like to point out too. Whenever you're asking an evolutionist a question, you're in a room with an evolutionist, just for the people who are listening to me, ask them questions about what the mechanisms of evolution can do. Ask them what the evidence is that they will give you. They're usually just going to give you some sort of small change or some sort of something that's being declared to be new, like, for example, the navel orange, for example, is a little bulge that they find underneath the pill. So something like that. But they never can show you whether or not these accumulation of changes can actually do the same thing that intelligence can do. And it's because of that simple fact that intelligent design is far more superior than evolution.
Go on, DZ. What was you going to say? Go on, DZ.
Yeah, so basically that all works on the presupposition that God exists. Now, God, for a fact, is, from what you guys have already presented, is an unfalsifiable supposition, a null hypothesis, that which cannot be proven nor disproven, that of which you're hypothesizing is the cause behind.
You're starting off with a straw man.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, everybody. Wait. You can't continue. Stop it.
Well, you
stop.
Stop. One rule for one and one rule
Stop
for the
it.
other.
Everybody stop. The reason why I'm trying to correct you before you continue is because if you're talking about intelligent design, why are you then trying to attack my God or any God specifically? Because intelligent design is was an objective argument over the implications of the creator. So if you're going to try to talk about my beliefs, you need to make them. You've got to distinguish between what we're talking about right here, because intelligent design is an objective argument.
That's.
Did you say it was an objective argument?
Yes, intelligent design is an objective argument on a creator.
Cutting DZ off like that was totally hypocritical, man. That was so hypocritical.
Look, I don't listen. The reason why I did that was because he was continuing. The reason why I did that was because he was continuing. Hold on, stop. You're gonna get kicked if you keep interrupting me. You've been doing that throughout the whole entire discussion. The reason why I interrupted him was because at the very start of his statements, he was continuing on a straw man. He wasn't attacking what we were saying. So instead of him continuing attacking something that was not the actual argument of intelligent design, it would have been better for me to correct it before he would continue, so that we have an understanding. Okay, we got to get back on topic with that. What we're actually saying right now.
Let me explain. Intelligent design is based on the proposition that a God exists, hence being the intelligent designer. So the hypothesis goes like this. The definition of hypothesis itself is a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation that falls in line with what you were saying. I suggest you mute yourself before you interject. So, because it's an unfalsifiable hypothesis, something that cannot be proven nor disproven, that within itself is the fundamental adjectives which describe the said God. You cannot prove it, cannot disprove it. Now that works with the whole philosophy of the law of non-contradictions, because it contradicts itself. Cannot prove, cannot disprove are contradictory terms. Therefore,
what are you getting at? Stop it. You're so incoherent right now. You're so incoherent right now. I'm stop it for a second. Why would you continue and try to say anything about a God? There are not. Stop it, Darren. Darren, stop it. If you're going to continue with strawman and you're not going to try to have an honest discussion, Darren, stop it. Okay, he left the discussion right now. Now you guys saw what just happened right there. Right now.
Yeah, you kept interrupting him and wouldn't let him finish his points, and he finally got...
Shut up. I'm trying to point something out right here. What he wanted to do was he wanted to continue with the misrepresentation of intelligent design.